Hey guys, thanks for coming back. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 issues that I see new photographers make. With that being said, there's going to be a lot of things that this is just my personal preference, so it's not an ultimate guide. When we dive into things, you may have these problems, you may not, but it's something to look out for. So without further ado, let's talk about it. So coming in at number 10, it's going to be not shooting in RAW. What are you doing? Why do you want to shoot in JPEG? It makes your photos look like shit. No, seriously though, like honestly, if you're shooting and you have a DSLR, you have like any kind of camera that can shoot in RAW, .RAW, not .JPEG, so just kind of like breaking those down for you as different types of formats for actually shooting. One is going to be a multi-layered photo, the other one is going to be a single layered photo. And so when you see like someone taking a shot of multiple different exposures, for example, it's going to go ahead and you can edit that photo in Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever and bring those darks, lights, tones, hues, anything like that. You can go ahead and bring them up and down and change it how you like. So coming in at number 10 is going to be that people don't shoot in RAW. So for f***'s sake, shoot in RAW. So number 2 is personal to me because I used to do this a lot when I started out. And number 2 is when people don't take multiple photos of the same picture. When you go down to it and you're editing and everything, you'll start to notice that an angle will be great, but let's say a cloud got in the way and it messed up your reflection, or a car passed by and it messed up your background, or some bug came up, and if you look at it, you've got to be nitpicky about that kind of stuff. You just didn't capture it. So you got to give yourself multiple kind of opportunities to edit these images in ways that you are able to pick out the one that sticks out to you. Now that's preference. You'll get more into the details of that later down the line, or if you're a higher up photographer or more of a professional photographer, you'll notice that that kind of stuff will come easier to you because you'll start to have a keen eye for that. Number 3 is a huge one. It is huge. Huge. Stop over-editing your photos. Stop it. Seriously. The shaders should not be all the way to one side or all the way to the other. If your background looks like shit, don't wash it out. You can edit it, but damn does that look bad. And I mean, that's personal preference and everything, so take that with a grain of salt. Everyone goes through that from, you know, a learning perspective and everything like that. But be open to criticism. Please, please be open to criticism, because when someone tells you that, hey, maybe don't do this kind of stuff, and 17 other people tell you that, I was guilty of it. I was super guilty of it. That was 11 years ago, but I had to start from somewhere. And if someone didn't tell me, hey, you need to cut that shit out, I'd probably be editing with like super hue, super grain, all that stuff. Besides the point. So remember, number 3, stop over editing, for the love of God. Alright, number 4 is a big one. Now this is something that will mess up your entire photo if you don't get it right. Number 4 is going to be not paying attention to your background. If you're not paying attention to your background, your photo is never going to come out great. It might come out good. You might have an awesome subject matter, but if you have something that's extremely distracting in the background, you're never going to have a good shot. That's something to look out for, especially when you're going ahead and shooting vehicles or anything like that. Rollers are a huge one. I know I'm talking to a lot of auto enthusiasts here and everything like that, so I'll try and pertain to that kind of stuff. But rollers are a huge one. So highway shots are great, but when you have, you know, a strip club or any kind of thing like that that you really don't want to have in there, or kind of advertising, a billboard's huge. You want to go ahead and edit that kind of stuff out. Now, I understand that sometimes you might get a great shot of the car, or some things might not be in focus, or, you know, if you're doing a still shot, there really isn't that much of an excuse though. You really need to focus on that kind of stuff. So definitely look at it. If you're not paying attention to your backgrounds, now is a great time to go ahead and start looking at it. I know I didn't really look at the background as much as I did the actual subject matter when I first started out. So if you're seeing your shots, you're like, man, I really want to have that like extra step. I really want to have that extra push on why my photo doesn't look, you know, that great level, that awesome, like, you know, magazine, forward looking kind of photo. Look at your background. I guarantee you, if you look at that and you focus on your background a little bit more, you're gonna have an awesome shot. And number 5, now number 5 is something that I have been extremely guilty of, and that's more along the lines of like just wanting to go out and shoot. But something that you want to look out for is poor lighting. That's number 5, poor lighting. That's something that I have been subject to, especially when I was in California and we had extremely cloudy days for multiple weeks. And sometimes you just want to go out and shoot, right? I mean, I'm guilty of it. I just hate like sitting around. I want to go take some photos, and I end up, you know, going out shooting and looking at the photos, and I'm like, man, this came out bad. Like it didn't look that good. And that's something that I noticed. A lot of people will take those photos and kind of flip-flop, and then they'll still use it. I mean, I'm guilty of using it as well. The last photos that I took that I can remember just off the hand was in California with the Mach 1. You can see that right here. Now, that's something that I personally shouldn't have gone forward with or edited a little bit differently, but that's fine. That's a learning lesson, and I'm still learning even to this day, and that's something that you really want to carry forward. So remember, bad lighting is something that you should look out for. Sometimes you can't change it. Sometimes it might be better to just do an indoor shot or something like that. If the outside isn't cooperating, try changing your scenario up. Alright. Number 6 gets me. And it gets me because I'm someone who takes pride in the details. And this is something that you won't really pick up on a lot of in like media, especially on like Instagram or something like that. But when you get a blown up photo, you can spot it so easily. Number 6 comes in with photos not in focus. Now I understand that sometimes you can't tell when you're taking the shot if your shot is in focus or not. Some sensors aren't that great. I mean, I had a Canon and I had a lot of issues with that. Sony makes some of the best sensors out there, and I'm extremely happy with mine. If you guys don't know, I have a Sony A7 Mark II. It's a full frame camera, and I fully enjoy it. Now the big thing is that looking at your photos in post, because it comes out and that the photo itself isn't in focus, and I'm talking about completely out of focus here. We're talking about like no details on your actual subject. Nothing is really popping the way it should, because you really need to have your subject matter pop for it to stand out, and not having something in focus can really kill that vibe. And I've seen people do it a bunch of times on the internet. I've done it myself. I mean, I've even pointed it out for myself and been like, hey, you need to cut it out. That shot sucks. Lighting was great. Lighting looked amazing. I wanted to save that photo. I wanted to sharpen the shit out of it, but you can't save that. Okay, number 7. Number 7 is a doozy. And number 7 is a doozy because a lot of people will have their settings on auto, and you know who you are. Number 7 is having your ISO on auto. This is something that if you want to have really in-depth detail, if you want to zoom in and read the tire lettering, if you have a high enough megapixel camera, you're not going to be able to. Either you are, but it's going to look bad. You're going to look like a 1950s film, and it's going to be grainy as shit. So I'll just cut to the chase on that one. Stop putting it on automatic. I personally run with the lowest ISO setting that I can, and I play with shutter speed. Shutter speed will compensate 100-fold And if you are shaky with the hands, get a tripod. Now, if you're trying to do some, astrophotography, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Your ISO will come into play with that kind of stuff. But if you're doing sunset photos or anything like that, get a tripod, work with your shutter speed. I promise you'll have a 10 times better product than if you will use automatic ISO. Please stop using auto ISO. Thank you. Alright, so coming in at number 8 is consistency. Consistency. Now, I bet you're wondering why I'm saying consistency. Well, you want to go ahead and get your own style. Everybody can see a photo and be like, wow, that's a good photo. But when you're being consistent with your shots, when you're being consistent with your edits, people can start to tell, that is CJ's photo. That is so-and-so's photo. That is your photo. Now, there is such a thing as a watermark, and that is great. But when someone crops out your watermark, which happens a lot, it's happened to me. I've had my product, or I've had my photos taken and put on eBay, and I've had people send it to me and be like, hey, people are using this, and I've had to send them a cease and desist letter. I don't mind people using my photos for products and everything like that, but contact me. That's a story for another time. Regardless, you want to stay consistent. Now, that is going to be something that helps you out and helps you gain who you are in the photography world. Now, that's going to be a little bit hard at first because you're just wondering, how do I go ahead and get myself situated? But if you're a more higher skill level photographer, you're going to know, hey, people expect this kind of photo out of me. Like, there's a certain style, and you'll have your own style. Photography is art, and everyone has their own style. I've seen multiple photos where people have shared them on Instagram, and I'm like, damn, that is a really good photo. That is from so-and-so. I knew that it was their shot because I know their lighting. I know their skills, and I'm like, man, that is something to strive for. And you know why? It's because they're consistent. So stay consistent. Number 9. Number 9 is one of my personal favorites because I do it a lot. I edit and I use a lot of photos. And number 9 is knowing when not to use a photo. That is something I am still striving to figure out. And it sucks because you'll go to a photo, you'll edit it, and you'll say, damn, that one was really good. That's the money shot. 3 photos down, you'll say, damn, this one's good too. And you'll edit that one too. And then another 2 down, you'll be like, wow, where did this come from? And you'll edit that one. So remember that not every photo will be used. Sometimes you need to know that not every single photo is worth it. Or edit those photos, look at every single one, and then pick a couple from that set. If you have it from the same angle and everything like that, only use one from that angle. But oversaturation is such a thing. If you have multiples of the same angle, it just doesn't look good. Just look out for that, because I do it too. I still do it to this day. So number 10. Now, I understand a lot of people are new to photography. It's a new hobby, and they're just trying to get along with, getting their head around the idea of taking a photo. Now, number 10 is not shooting in manual or camera unfamiliarity. To be fair, that's understandable. Shooting in auto is a good one because you can. It's not good. Don't shoot in auto, for the love of God. But I understand. I understand if you're getting the idea of how to actually proportion a photo, or if you're just trying to get a good grasp on how to do things. That's fine. Understand where you are in life, and then understand, hey, I'm not that great. You can use different tools to learn a little bit more. Watching YouTube videos and everything like that will help you out in terms of, like, you know, functionality and stuff. We might even get into that later down the line, who knows. You can go to school for that kind of stuff. I never did personally. All I learned is I learned all this stuff on my own. That's totally okay. I mean, you just got to go ahead and take a risk and make sure that you are willing to grow and try new things and say, hey, I want to shoot in manual today. Just try it. Seriously, just try it. And remember, please, please, please try and shoot in manual as much as you can if you have the opportunity to, or if you want to go ahead and experiment, do it. Do it, do it, do it. I will help you out, I promise. If you have any questions whatsoever. If you get to the point in life where you'll be just passing by on the highway or something like that, looking at a river, looking at an overpass, looking at some car, you know, being in a parking lot, being at Cars and Coffee, and you'll be like, man, this f-stop would be great here. The shutter speed would be great here. That would be a sick photo if I had this kind of composition. That kind of stuff is going to have to come with time. Some people get it early on and they just build on that. You know, this is something that you can do at any age, and I fully believe that everyone should at least give it a try. I mean, it's brought me so much happiness in my life, and, you know, brought me so many friendships and abilities to do stuff for people. And that's something that I will never trade. I mean, it's a talent that I have been able to grow, and now I'm hopefully being able to share to you guys. Now, something that you need to know with this entire process, with this whole top 10 mistakes and everything like that, is that it's just a guideline. You know, you may have some of these issues, or you may exhibit some of these habits, but it's not an end-all be-all. Is having one of these problems bad? Not necessarily. As I said, I do a lot of these, and it's just making sure that you know that you have these habits and you're willing to accept it and move to improve them. And that's it. I mean, that's all there really is at the end of it. So I guess in the end, just remember, go out, keep your eyes open, try and take some cool shots. And I am CJ. Remember to stay creative, be awesome, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks.